Every child in this village grows up hearing one rule: never open the red hut. Not during the day, not at night, and especially not during the full moon. For generations, nobody dared to question it. Nobody asked what was inside. But one curious boy did, and the day he opened that door, he discovered a secret the entire village had been hiding for hundreds of years. Long ago, in a quiet village surrounded by tall grass and ancient trees, there stood a small hut at the edge of the forest. It was not like the other houses. While the village homes were made of clay and thatch, this hut was painted a deep, strange red. The paint had faded over the years, but its color was still strong enough to catch your eye from far away. The hut had no windows, only one wooden door, and that door was almost always closed. Every child in the village knew the rule: stay away from the red hut. Parents warned their children from the time they were old enough to walk. If you ever go near that hut, the ancestors will know. But whenever children asked what was inside, the adults would only shake their heads and say the same thing: some things are not meant to be seen. And that was the end of the conversation. Once every year, on the night of the full moon, something even stranger happened. The elders of the village would gather quietly after sunset. They carried drums, herbs, and burning torches. Without saying a word to anyone, they would walk slowly toward the red hut. No one followed them. No one watched. The rest of the village stayed inside their homes with their doors closed. Even the children were told not to look outside, because the elders always said the same thing: the ancestors are watching tonight. For many years, no one ever questioned it. But in that village lived a boy named Sifu. Sifu was 14 years old. He was known for two things: his curiosity and the fact that he was never afraid to ask questions. While other children avoided the red hut completely, Sifu often stared at it whenever he passed near the forest. The hut bothered him, not because he feared it, but because no one would explain it. One afternoon, while playing with his friends, Sifu finally asked the question everyone else was too afraid to say: what is actually inside the red hut? The other boys immediately became nervous. One of them whispered, "Don't talk about it." Another said, "My mother says bad things happen to people who ask too many questions." But Sifu laughed. "How can a hut be dangerous?" His friends didn't answer. Instead, they quickly changed the subject. But Sifu's curiosity had already grown stronger. Days passed. Then one afternoon, while walking near the forest to collect firewood, Sifu noticed something unusual. The door of the red hut was slightly open, just a little. It had never been opened before. There were no elders nearby, no guards, no villagers at all. The wind moved gently through the grass, and the open door creaked slowly. For a moment, Sifu stood frozen. His heart began to beat faster. He knew the rule. Everyone knew the rule. But curiosity can be stronger than fear. Slowly, Sifu walked closer. The red paint on the hut looked old and cracked up close. The wooden door moved slightly with the wind. He could see darkness inside, complete darkness. For a moment, he almost turned around. But then he heard something, a sound, very faint, like whispering. Sifu leaned closer to the doorway. The whispering became clearer. It sounded like many voices speaking at the same time, soft, ancient, almost like the wind was talking. His hands started shaking. But before fear could stop him, Sifu stepped inside the hut. The air inside was cold, much colder than outside. It smelled like old wood and dried herbs. The whispering grew louder. Sifu's eyes slowly adjusted to the darkness, and then he saw it. In the center of the hut stood a large wooden table. Something was covering it, a long cloth. Sifu slowly walked toward it. Each step felt heavier than the last. His heart was beating so loudly he could hear it in his ears. He reached the table. His hands trembled as he grabbed the edge of the cloth. For a moment, he hesitated. Then slowly, he lifted it. And the moment he saw what was underneath, his blood ran cold. The table was covered with hundreds of carved wooden masks. Every mask was different. Some looked angry, some looked peaceful, some looked almost human. But the strangest part was that every mask seemed to be staring directly at him. Suddenly, one of the masks moved, just slightly. Sifu stumbled backwards in terror. His breath caught in his throat. The whispering voices suddenly stopped, and the hut became completely silent. Then he heard a deep voice behind him, a voice that said only one sentence. "You are not supposed to see this." Slowly, Sifu turned around. Standing in the doorway was the oldest elder in the village, the man who led the ceremonies every year. His face was serious, but what terrified Sifu the most was the mask the elder was holding in his hand, because the mask looked exactly like Sifu's face. And the elder quietly said something that made Sifu's heart stop. This mask appeared only this morning.